Today is Monday, July 18th, 2016. And last night, probably right around 10 o'clock, between 10 and 11 p.m., you had Sheriff David Clarke get on CNN talking to Don Lemon about the whole situation with all the police being killed. And Sheriff David Clarke took that moment to address the ideology that is behind all of the shootings in Black Lives Matter. I think he took Don Lemon by surprise, and he was able to wreck him with his statements. Now, the whole thing here just kind of showed the contrast between a more alpha male, a conservative, somebody that really understands the way the world works, and somebody else that is not really. I'm not really somebody that is not like Don Lemon. I'm not a Don Lemon basher or a hater, but you could tell in this very brief clip that I'm about to play for you that he was not prepared for anything like that. And guys like this, a lot of times, are the ones that lead the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, I'm not saying that Don Lemon is a Black Lives Matter supporter or a sympathizer, but you see a lot of guys like him that are in the movement that try to overthrow or rebel against guys like Sheriff David Clarke. So just for the purposes of this situation, it was a good compare and contrast to be able to see the differences between the two different sides. And I think that Sheriff David Clarke is a hero for this. I say God bless him, because the thing is, even if Don Lemon did not necessarily say anything to empower Black Lives Matter in this moment, it was needed for Sheriff David Clarke to take this moment to rail against them and to point out why these officers are being killed and the ideology behind it. Because who else is really doing it? I mean, you got Barack Hussein Obama saying things like this.
When people say Black Lives Matter, that doesn't mean blue lives don't matter. It just means all lives matter. But right now, the big concern is the fact that the data shows black folks are more vulnerable to these kinds of incidents.
And then you have Black Lives Matter, the group that Barack Hussein Obama endorses, saying things like this. So what is going to be the end result? You got Black Lives Matter protesting the police, threatening the police, saying they want to have pigs in the blanket, fry 'em like bacon. You know, what do you want? Dead cops. What do you want now? And then Barack Hussein Obama is endorsing it, right? Now, he's not saying that you should just go out there and just kill cops. Of course not. You can't do that. But it's like a dog whistle when he goes out there and says, oh, well, Black Lives Matter is not just about this, that, and the third. He's giving them credence. He's making excuses for them. So then that empowers them, that emboldens them. And this creates the atmosphere of anti-police sentiment, just like what happened in Dallas, Texas, and also in Baton Rouge. I'm about to do an in-depth video on a situation in Baton Rouge, and I was able to find out all of the things that the shooter had going on in his mind from what he was able to put out there on his YouTube and social media, etc. It's easy to see that this Black Lives Matter rhetoric fueled it. Some people try to tell me on my Facebook that, oh, well, he wasn't necessarily fueled by Black Lives Matter. You can't prove that he was affiliated with them. He made a video saying that he wasn't affiliated with them, but it doesn't really matter because the whole anti-police sentiment and rhetoric that he was exposed to is part of what made him do what he did. It empowered him, right? If you say you want to go out there and hurt police, and then you have the president of the United States giving credence to a group that is well known for having anti-police rhetoric and sentiment, then just add two and two together. It's not hard to tell where his empowerment has come from, where his inspiration has come from, right? I won't get too deep into that because I'll save that for that different video about the Baton Rouge shooter. But for now, I just want to show you the exchange that Don Lemon had with Sheriff David Clarke. I want you to notice how similar they are kind of in their appearance, but how different they are, and also how different they are in their message and their tone. So go ahead and roll it.
Here to talk about how to keep our police safe is Sheriff David Clarke of Milwaukee County, Wisconsin. He is going to be speaking at the Republican convention tomorrow night. Sheriff, thank you very much for that horrific day. I spoke to the heads of the sheriff department, the police department, and the state police down there, and they told us how their hearts were reeling. Their message is peace and coming together in the country. What's your message?
You don't believe that for 1 minute, do you?
That their message is?
Yeah.
That's what they said to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe them. Of
Any
course I believe them
protests
when they say
over the
that.
deaths of these cops today in Baton Rouge?
I don't know that. I don't know that.
Any riots or protests over the police officers in Dallas, Texas?
What are you asking?
It's a pretty simple question.
I asked you if what's your message to the people. Their message is one of peace. What is your message?
My message has been clear from day one 2 years ago. This anti-cop sentiment from this hateful ideology called Black Lives Matter has fueled this rage against the American police officer. I predicted this 2 years ago. So what I want to know,
okay, Sheriff.
do I want to know?
With all due respect, do you know that this was because of that? Do we
Yes,
know
I
that
do.
As a law enforcement officer?
I've been watching this for 2 years. I predicted this. This anti-police rhetoric sweeping the country has turned out some hateful things inside of people that are now playing themselves out on the American police officer. I want to know, with all of the black-on-black violence in the United States of America, by the way, when the tragedies happened in Louisiana and Minnesota, do you know that 21 black people were murdered across the United States? Was there any reporting on that?
There was a black officer who was killed today. But
was there any reporting on that?
Sheriff, please, let's just keep the volume down here. So I understand, and listen. I'm
looking at 3 dead cops this week,
Sheriff,
and I'm looking at 5 last year. You trying to tell me to keep it down?
If you'll just please, we can keep it civil. So, because the message to people at home, I'm sure you want, is one of civility.
I wish, Don, I wish you had that message of civility
have a conversation
toward
with
this
you.
Hateful ideology, these purveyors of
don't
hate.
know what my message is.
That's
what I
what
want
they
to say
do.
to you is
these people preach
are you gonna let me get a word
and
in?
virtue
We'll be right
in the
back.
name
We're
of
going to go to break,
hate.
and we'll be right back. A whole bunch of things into one. If we can do one specific
That's
thing
where this whole phony movement started. It started out as hands up, don't shoot.
You're talking about Black Lives Matter,
right?
Okay. So if you want to, if you would need to speak to someone who is a member of Black Lives Matter about whether they have perpetrated a fraud on the American people. That's up to Black Lives Matter. That's not me. I'm neither a member of Black Lives Matter, I'm neither a supporter or someone who doesn't support them. I simply report on Black Lives Matter.
Do you condemn the anti-police rhetoric coming from this hateful ideology?
As a journalist sitting here on television, I don't have to condemn anyone, anything. That is something that you should ask other people around the country.
I condemn
their jobs to condemn
just
that.
like I condemn the hateful ideology out of groups like the KKK. All right? I condemn it. There is no place in American discourse for that sort of vile, vitriolic hate coming out of this ideology. This has fueled and fanned the flames of this anger toward the American police officer. There's only one group in America, one time, that truly cares about the lives of black people in these urban ghettos. And it's the American police officer who goes down there on a daily basis, puts their life on the line to protect who? Black people. So when you say we just want to have a conversation, let's have a conversation about the black-on-black crime, which kills more black males, which is more of a threat to any black male in the United States than a law enforcement officer.
Sheriff, yes, that's a different conversation.
So you made it to the end. So tell me what you think. Do you think that Sheriff David Clarke wrecked Don Lemon? Do you think that it was necessary to have happen at this point in time so we get past the coddling and the excuses and the condoning of Black Lives Matter? Or do you think that he was just being a bully here, that it was not necessary to do? Whatever your comments, concerns, theories, or anything else are, let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.